What's up, everyone? We're here with the one, the only Dr. Mulder this evening. How you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing as well as always. Cannot complain too badly. It's been a busy week. Always doing the same old man. Building machines or building parts to make more machines. It's just the way it is. Sometimes I guess it's good to be popular. So what can I say?
Hey, man, it keeps the work going, the flow going, and it makes
Right.
life very entertaining and fun, purposeful. A purposeful life is the way to be, man.
Oh yeah, and see, I just got finished doing an interview with Patty Negri. I don't know if anybody's familiar with her. She's been on like all the like Ghost Hunter and all those ghost shows or whatever. She's really popular out in the West Coast, out in Hollywood. Like I said, it's pretty interesting here. And we did like about an hour long interview just talking about using magic and machines, basically the same kind of stuff that you and I talk about. But
Mm.
but I got to hear it from somebody that really just out there is really truly hardcore with it, and she's been doing this stuff like for decades, man. I'm not.
Oh, wow.
Oh yeah, I mean it's pretty awesome, and we're going to be working on a special project. Everybody can watch the show, but we're going to be working on a special project with a haunted building over in Los Angeles. I'm going to try to see if I can possibly help with the getting rid of the bad juju that's inside that building. And
Oh,
oh yeah, there's been like murders and all kinds of crap's been going on. They found like a girl that was like in the water tank. Somebody hit her body in the water tank, and people were drinking the water.
oh my God.
Oh yeah, it's pretty.
Wow.
It's got a pretty nasty history, man. No joke.
Now, do you have what is your way of attack do you think you're gonna do? Are you gonna use like one of those sigils of the ghost on a Joshua P. Warren and then kind of anti do that?
Uh,
Or
well, what I'm going to do is I'm basically going to. I think I told you the story about the woman over in Michigan that had the house that she thought was
yeah.
basically, yeah. I'm going to do the same thing with this building. Get a picture of the building. Probably use like Christ energy or something or an angel to help fight the bad spirits or whatever it might be inside this thing. To try to neutralize it. And once I neutralize it, then everybody else is going to be working on the same project, so they're going to be throwing their mojo at it also.
Wow.
And so I feel like this is going to be like a nice little project to see. Okay, can we make an effect here? Can we actually take something that's really has a very naughty history, and see if we can make this thing see if we make it shine again.
Hmm.
This is what, so
Honestly, that's a great idea for a show. Actually, I thought about that in the past. Instead of going to places to document, you go to places that have been documented and you cleanse the area because at the end of the day, do we want these spirits trapped? Like there was this place here in town where you could go and stay the night, but they wouldn't let you do any cleansings because they wanted these spirits to be trapped in there. And to me, it's like, why the hell would you do that? Why would you not want to like be someone to cleanse, open up that door, to have the new beginnings, have that
right,
spirit released? So, hey, dude, I love that. That is actually really freaking
yeah.
badass.
Yeah, so we're going to see about that. I think that if we do this project, it's going to be like within a month or 2 months from now. And yeah, definitely going to go into more detail on the air as we get closer to the time we do this. So, yeah, it's interesting here. The kind of things that people are starting to think about when it comes to radionics and bringing them into the scenario of
Hmm.
doing, I mean, just multi-purpose things. I was even talking to this one guy. I think it was a priest I was mentioning before about doing exorcisms remotely. Instead of this guy actually going on site, he
Hmm.
stayed inside of his office, inside of his cathedral or his church or wherever, and tune the dial to start doing the exorcism. From the comfort of his own office. That way, he won't get attacked and, well, physically attacked inside the room, where this individual's at, or where the individual is, or the person is being possessed, and so that's another option we're kind of looking at. I mean, it's just so many different avenues to go down and just to see what happens. Just That's what her.
Experiments. It's
Yeah.
nonstop experimenting and figuring out that formula. I mean, I'm already thinking you put the psionic helmet on, and he could be doing the prayers into the box itself,
Right.
and then play it off like a ritual, then turn it on 24/7. That ritual's dude. That's honestly like 10 times more potent than an actual exorcism face to face. I feel like.
Yeah. Well, the thing about it is, like you said, it's 24/7. Let the machine do the work. Really.
Yeah.
Instead of this guy having to go there, just let the machine do the job for him. And see, I mean, I hate to try to have somebody that's possessed to use them as a guinea pig, but then again, eh, you know, sacrifices have to be made.
Well, you got a great intention behind it, and that's what I think number one is, and like, if you can do that and that could help out, then that might be able to get more people to want to go into that field to do that, so they don't have as much fear. I've had to go do some exorcisms face to face, and I've had pretty intense things occur, but nothing to where someone was, floating or anything along those lines or that. But still, I mean, there is an aspect to like being in person.
Yeah.
There is it's kind of like the chi ball thing. I remember one of the exorcisms, I actually got an energetic chi ball of light and then put it right to their chest. Mm-hmm. And right when I did that, they flew back into the wall, onto the ground, and then they're like, dude, my chest is on fire, my chest is on fire. And I wonder if you could do that chi ball thing while you were sitting like in an office, and then shoot that off. But you see, you don't know unless you try. So you're doing it. You're doing the world's work.
Exactly. The only thing I kind of wonder about the chi ball, where's the protection for me? I guess I could probably build it into the intent of the thought form inside the chi ball, as I throw it at them. But radionics, like I said, I kind of look at it as a firewall when you're dealing with some negative things. Even though I personally did not take precautions whenever I first got involved in this, and I think we went over that story also the last show I was on. And live and learn. And now I know that, hey, whenever you mess with this stuff, take it serious.
Yeah.
Cover your own ass. Have a protection for yourself, and whenever you're dealing with these things, because it can turn around and and kind of ricochet you back onto you. So
yeah, and that's the thing too when it comes to the astral or anything on the other side. Third dimension, you can do stuff and kind of be a little stealthy, but like entities on the other side are seeing it and know it all that's going on. So that's why my number one rule with any evocation, working with any spirit, is honesty and being upfront. Like, literally, don't why are you gonna try and bullshit this? That they're gonna make now you're being a jackass. You know what I mean? Let's just be honest and get this on the road.
Exactly. But that's like I said, that's some of the little projects I'm working on. The next thing I'm working on right now, and I guess you and I have been talking back and forth about this thing, is creating a special radionics machine. Matter of fact, I'm on one of the first prototypes I'm building for L, and I'm going to send it to him, and he can go ahead and he'll be able to display it right there in the comfort of his own studio. And what it's going to be is, we were talking about, I think, building like, say, a Raphael machine or whatever, or a Michael machine or whatever, demon of your choice, machine, that kind of thing. And I was thinking, okay, that's cool. It's a great idea. But I'm always into making things very flexible and where you can make it more universal for the consumer. So I thought about this. What I'm going to do is with the circuitry that I'm using for this new generation of machines, I'm going to plug or have a plug-in for a separate plate. It's going to be like an input plate. And what you'll be able to do is take the sigil or something that represents that entity that you're trying to work with on an operation, put that on that plate, and it's immediately amplifying the intent to that entity. For example, Raphael, say, hey, I need you to go after a bad guy. And what I will do is set the machine for that particular, for Michael to help with this bad guy, and then as one of the final phases, just 2 or 3 things are going to be going on in the machine simultaneously. But one of the parts of the operation on the output is have a specific section of the circuitry that's devoted to sending that message to Michael and reinforcing that message to Michael 24/7. Okay, and you can do this with anything, with any spiritual entity that that you have in mind. And I feel like, yeah, instead of just having like different models for like certain operations, now we'll have one model, one size fits all, and that's what I was looking to do.
Yeah, and that's when we were talking about that too. It just makes more sense to be universal because some deities people might not even want to work with, and then why offer a machine for a spirit that no one even knows, you know?
Right.
And then plus, you know, I was thinking for myself, I have different servitors and familiars, and so they have their own unique sigil only I have. So what else I wanted a machine for them, you know? And so I really like that a lot. That's such an awesome idea, and I'm really excited to be able to check it out, give you some feedback, and you know, it actually brings into another question. So like when it comes to tulpas and egregores, and I know most people in our audience will know what that is, but essentially a thought form that if enough mass consciousness thinks about, ends up bringing that energy together to make it so it's something that is on the astral now as a living entity. So I didn't know if you've ever made a tulpa or know anyone that's done a tulpa and they use the actual machine itself as like a feeding device, almost like a vampiric current. So then it keeps empowering it over and over. And then if they have, or if you've heard of anyone that's done that, kind of, is there a breaking point, or can you just keep building that up and up to almost be its own mini god?
Well, I personally have not used these devices to make a tulpa or to try to create a tulpa or empower one. I do know of several people who did create a tulpa, and I think they were doing this as basically the like a part of the section of a Blu-ray disc for I even got the name of the movie. Josh was like the technical advisor for this film, and what they did was he and a woman by the name of Shelley Wright, and also Mobius. I've mentioned him before. He's the tech guy. What they did was they decided they were going to try to create a tulpa, and just again, this is like a filler reel or whatever. This is some kind of section on the behind the scenes section on the DVD, because you know how it is, DVDs, they got plenty of
bonus features.
The bonus, there you go, bonus feature, the bonus feature for it. And what they did was Mobius was the one that was in charge of this. He basically had sensors or electrodes or yeah, I guess that's what you call them. Anyway, he'd have them on a Shelley's head at specific locations on her skull, and then they were adjusting the knobs or whatever to create the pickup on this on what was coming off of the brainwaves or the energy that was coming off of Shelley would go into the machine and was amplifying it into this location to try to create a tulpa. All right, well, they went ahead and did this experiment. I think they lasted maybe an hour, 2 hours, and nothing happened. And then about a couple of days later, the owners of the house started hearing noises and what have you, and they saw something. And what Shelley was envisioning was like basically one of these little, what do you call it, little Cupid dolls or something like that. So it's like a little troll-looking doll.
Yeah, the dirty little trolls with the dirt hair that you can pull and stick. Yeah.
Yeah, that one of those things.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what that person was seeing. And apparently this thing's like 7-8 feet tall, and they could hear it walking up the stairs, the whole 9 yards. I mean, Josh did a show of this on the radio years ago, and so he said that thing's for real. And also heard another story too about the guy that wrote. It's back in the 30s and the 40s. A gentleman who was writing for The Shadow, the series, the radio series, The Shadow. Who knows? The Shadow knows. And I'm sure everybody's heard of that. Most people have heard of that from one time or another. And apparently he was working on that kind of a thing. And they said that house, after he either moved out or passed away, they could see shadows going through the house. It looked like the way this guy imagined it. So just by creating, constantly thinking about a situation or an entity, you create life into that entity, and it actually has a place in this reality, was actually interacting with this reality. I find that fascinating.
Yeah,
And,
I do too. And I have a friend he's talking about using a machine and then to empower a succubus. And to me, I'm thinking that's some genius idea. That's an absolutely I mean, that's going to be hardcore, and I hope you have a good relationship with that entity.
wow.
Yeah, he's going to get thrown across the room. That's what I'm thinking. It's like,
Oh man. Yeah, I've heard stories about the succubus. I guess it depends on which one you get. There's not just one, right? There's a big.
yeah. There's
Yeah.
so there's like phantom ones on the realm that aren't under any order. They're kind of rogue, and they're usually a one night, then scare the shit out of you, take your energy. And then there's other ones you can have flings here and there, and then there's ones you can actually build relationships with. And because as soon as it was very fascinating, I remember reading a lot about it. And there's different goddess queens, whether Lilith or Nama, and then they have their different types of, basically daughters and all that. But
Uh-huh.
yeah, I was thinking about that. I was like, dude, that's pretty hardcore. And depending on what you use as their energy source, like, man, oh man, like I can't wait to hear the
Yeah.
before and after there.
So do these things like do they actually physically appear, or is it just like
So okay, so as what I've gotten, because I've not had that experience yet, but I know many practitioners, and I've been listening to. I mean, when I'm just around on my job, all I got is time to learn, and they can come like you can be laying on your bed, and actually physical. It's invisible, but a physical like push down of a person can
Mhm.
appear on your bed, and then so they can come as they're invisible, but you can feel their whole entire body. And there's others who say when they get in their halfway, half awake, like state of mind, once you hit that type of frequency, not sleep paralysis fully, but kind of in there, you can see them more clearly. So then you can actually see them in a physical stance. And
Mhm.
then in your mind's eye, they can, take you to different places and, look certain ways. But that physicality, I'm wondering if you gave that entity enough energy, like let's say you got a box and maybe had it on for, I'm thinking like 6 months,
Mhm.
for that manifestation of her or him, whatever it is you're doing, I feel like that's a possibility that they could appear, because I know some spirits, they can like appear as just like a random passerby, give you some random information in the streets and then disappear, any angel, demon, whatever. So I'm very curious about all that, I think it's endless when it comes along that. But what I'm also finding is like the Loa with like voodoo and such, they're very kind of like physical. It's like they're halfway here, there, halfway here type of things, versus like angels and demons and all that. It's like they're just on the other side. Like here and there, some physical stuff can happen, but like Loa and stuff, you might see something run across, and see movement, and there's always heat and stuff. So I'm very fascinated when it comes to those spirits, because I think it's the next level when it comes to shit. Like it's one thing to do spells, it's another thing if I'm seeing stuff flying around and like I'm feeling hot all the time, or it feels
Right.
like there's something sucking on my dangling, like that. That would be
Hey,
pretty crazy, man. Sex magic's a real thing, dude. I mean, next to blood magic, sex magic, those two are pretty fucking potent, But I for one, I'm one that likes to hold in my seed because I find it to give me more energy. I mean, don't get me wrong, edging's fine, but you can edge all you want all day. But
TMI, TMI. Okay. Anyway.
but I find that gives you more energy, more creative flow, and those type of things. And and I also like doing the cold showers here and there, just because I find that also helps out my energy body and all that. But yeah, I was just wondering, like with that tulpa that occurred inside the studio, did they end up having to ever get rid of that, or did it eventually?
I don't think they ever touched. I don't think they ever did anything with it. It may, for all we know, it may still be there, or it may have just
It's
faded
the
away.
troll. It's the troll spirit, and
Yeah.
now they're gonna have to go there and get rid of it
Oh
because it's
yeah.
become so strong.
Oh yeah. This had to have been like 9 or 10 years ago. So yeah, I really wouldn't want to live in the house that thing was in. But yeah, it was verified by several people, several witnesses. Yes, there was some weird stuff going on, and they caught glimpses of this thing. And apparently, the laboratory we set up this experiment was down in the basement, and you could hear something walking up the stairs. You know, hear the footsteps as it was going up the stairs and that kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Very interesting. This situation, but yeah, radionically, can this be done? Hell yeah, it's the same thing. Basically the same identical thing. Like you said, use a helmet, project it to the universe, a tulpa. Then you can set up a machine to create the energy behind it. Like, for example, the power station that we use, like in a 100 killer setup.
Hmm.
Project that toward the tulpa, you know, providing it energy so it can constantly, build and build and get stronger and stronger. I don't see why that wouldn't work at all.
Wow. Now, when it comes to the sources, uh, I was thinking, you could get the atomic bomb and make that a source. You could use the sun for a source.
Right.
I'm wondering when it comes down to it. I was even looking into the black sun, and I heard Rurik saying some things about that, and that gave me some more ideas about that energy. But do you think that the sun is the strongest catalyst for energy, or do you think that's different due to whether it's whatever working you're doing, or?
Uh, for me personally, again, Uncle Chucky, aka Charles Casamano, he was the guy that told me about this, about using the sun as a power station. He said personally the reason why he likes to use the sun is because that's where life gets its energy from. I mean, if it wasn't for the sun, there'd be no life on this planet. It'd be a frozen ice ball out in the middle of space, right? And his philosophy was that's where everything comes from. That's what feeds everything in this solar system is the sun. That's pretty much the power station, for everything. The radiation that's needed, the heat, the light, all that stuff
Mhm.
inside the solar system. And plus, I think over the years there's been a major thought form put together by human beings, about the sun, worshiping the sun. For example, down in Mexico, when I went to the Mayans, that went to the Mayan relics, one of the major things that they worshipped was the sun. I mean, they even had, a temple set aside so that, during the solstices, that you'd be able to see the sun, peer directly through certain windows that they built in this temple. And so, I mean, that's how important it was to them. And
Mm.
so, again, I guess it depends on it goes back to the operator. What in your mind is a truly the greatest power source there is to run these machines, and then go with that.
Mm.
What resonates with you, and like I said, we keep saying this over and over again. I know it sounds like a broken record, but the operator is the most important part of the radio device or the radar of the operation.
No, that it does make total sense along those lines. I mean, like in my mind, I think if it was a vampiric spirit, maybe I'd use a chicken farm satellite picture,
Right.
and maybe that's more satisfying than the sun energy. And then if it's a sun deity, using the sun. I've been looking at kind of what planets and like elements that the spirits I'm working with
Hmm.
are, like Azazel, like relates to Saturn. So when I was charging his sigil, I used the planetary sigil of Saturn to just
Hmm.
empower that. And I find even small things like that, it might not be the most biggest thing in the world of change, but it does change everything, just by that source. But then again, maybe if it was someone else doing the exact same thing I'm doing, it wouldn't make any difference to them because I'm a different operator, and it's coming through my psychic projection into the project.
Right.
And, I don't think how everyone else thinks. So, yeah, I was totally seen on that. And, one of the things I wanted to talk about was an experiment I did that it's everyone, it's a wellness experiment. Okay. So when you hear all these things, just know it's wellness, because we can't say things for healing because they're going to try and track you down. So,
Yeah, yeah. And I have nothing to do with this.
and he has nothing to do with this. So this
That's
wellness experiment